I'm going to take the Raptors tonight because I don't believe they have that push, that 7-foot monster that they knew was going to be in Game 5. And he provided the spark, Skip, because he opened up the floor. He allowed Klay and Steph to get comfortable early on. And then Klay never lost his comfort level in shooting the three. Although Steph went cold a little bit in the second half, he found his niche when he found his mark when he really needed to in the fourth quarter. But I think Toronto has played great D all series long, and I believe they'll get back to that, especially not having to worry about Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant also provided them something, Skip, on the defensive side. Because he's so long, getting extra rebounds, blocked Siakam's shot. Nothing came cheap early on for the Raptors, and therefore the Warriors were able to get to a lead, and they made Toronto play catch-up for the entire game. They only took the lead, the last 4 minutes of the ball game, had like a 6-point lead with about 3:05 left in the game to go. But I believe this time around, Skip, they will limit the amount of threes. You cannot let Golden State shoot 42 threes and then let them shoot a high percentage from the three-point line. More times than not, you will lose. I believe those threes will be tougher to come by tonight. They will contest more shots. They will bang the offensive glass like they've done all series long. And I believe they win a close ball game. And Kawhi Leonard would join Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and LeBron James as the only men to win the Bill Russell Finals MVP trophy in 2 different locales.
Okay, I'm going to have to tell our control room I'm having a hard time hearing Shannon. It's going in and out, so forgive me for that. But I'm going to try to guess at what you were just saying, and I'm going to try to talk to it. I'm going to go with you this far. I don't love the Warriors' chances tonight because there's no good reason they should win this game because I don't have any evidence from the previous 3 games that Toronto has played at Oracle this year. There's no evidence that Golden State should even have a chance tonight because all 3 previous games were wipeouts. And I'm going to remind you, the regular season game, albeit way back in December, was a complete wipeout. It was 113-93, and guess who didn't play? My guy, number 2, did not play in that game, and it was 113-93. So what does that tell you? Because when he did play in Game 3, and when he did play, especially in Game 4, it was domination by the visiting team at Oracle, where the Warriors have not played very well all year long. Again, for the last time, I'm going to say this because this is the last night at Oracle. This year, they lost 6 home games by 20-plus points, and 2 of those games were by 30-plus. Those are just bad signs. And I'm going to give number 2 this. In Game 3, he was very good, 30 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, a couple of steals, a couple of blocks. But in Game 4, that was his most overpowering game of this finals because he went 36-12 with 4 steals and a block and 0 turnovers, and he made 5 of 9 three-point shots and 9 of 9 free throws. You can't do a whole lot better than that. So that was the last time I saw Toronto on this floor doing that to them. And obviously tonight, the truth is, I'm just being honest with you, number 2 should own this game. He will be the best player on the floor tonight because the best player on the planet, obviously, is in New York recovering from Achilles rupture reattachment. And it's obvious that Toronto has the better team with the much superior depth. So we start with all that, and then we add this onto it. I'm going to be honest with what I saw yesterday and heard from the rest of the Golden State players. I didn't love how they came out of the KD injury. It seemed to cast a weird pall over the team because it seems like even some of the players would have to be quietly questioning the integrity, the honesty of their coaching staff and their medical staff and their management. That's how it came across to me, to where instead of being inspired by KD's injury, like Klay tried to make the case for, it just seemed to me like they were a little deflated and, dare I say, disillusioned by how it all came about and why?
Well, yeah, Skip, I think the thing is that when you hear the medical staff says, well, if KD were to play, there he can do no further damage. Okay, maybe he restrains the calf, but this was the extreme. Not only did the calf is the least of his problems. When you have an rupture of the Achilles as a basketball player, that changes the dynamic, and the quickest we've seen someone come back, and we've seen guys have this injury. Chauncey Billups had this injury. Dominique Wilkins had this injury. Rudy Gay had this injury. Basically, a conservative, you're looking at 9 months, Skip. That's being very, very, very.
All right.
But
now,
for the most part, guys take a year.
Okay, now back to Game 6 tonight. I picked the Warriors in 7. I'm sticking with them in 7, but I would like them in a Game 7 in Toronto more than I like them tonight. So tonight is the night. And I'm going to make the case, hanging with Golden State, that Toronto's going to have to lose the game tonight more than Golden State will win this game. Because I don't think even Steven, level playing field, I don't think Golden State can beat that team head up. If they both play a good game to very good game, Toronto, you'll be right. Toronto will win. Number 2 will be crowned. He'll be the MVP.
Skip, if I'm hearing you correctly, you believe if they got to a Game 7, the pressure would be so great on Toronto that they would succumb to the pressure, and Golden State, having been in this environment before, would be able to win. So, in other words, you feel more comfortable with the pressure of Game 7 being in their building being too much for them to overcome,
correct,
as opposed to them being in their own building in a Game 6.
Okay. This would boil down to, for me, Game 7 would become Clay versus feet of Clay, because I think Toronto would have feet of Clay in a Game 7. But in Game 6, it seems like Toronto is playing better away from the home pressure to do something that's never been done in the history of Raptors basketball, which is win an NBA championship. So tonight, my only hope is that the Warriors can hang in, hang on, and get to a fourth quarter in which the rim will start looking smaller and smaller and smaller to the visiting team. I think the visiting team will play well for 3 quarters. Then it'll come down to who makes the threes in the fourth quarter. And I still believe Golden State can make more threes in the fourth quarter.
Well, we do know this for certain. For whatever reason, and I don't know, I think he tries to replicate that when he goes home. Kyle Lowry plays.
He does. I told you that before that.
Exponentially better.
I told you before Game 3. You were all over him. I said, no, he'll play big in this game.
Skip, we've never seen anything like this, Skip. We've never seen a player of his caliber play so much better on the road than he does at home. And you mentioned getting to a Game 7, feet of clay. You hoping they have hands of stone, that all of a sudden
I agree.
The rim is thimble size as opposed to ocean size, and they can throw it into that.
That is
but
true.
for me, let me ask you this, Skip. Do you believe that Boogie Cousins can have a Game 2 and 5 in Game 6 or a Game 7 if necessary? Because I've seen nothing that would indicate that he can put together back-to-back games.
I have not either. I don't completely trust him tonight because you're right. Every time to use your term, expectations rise for DeMarcus, he crumbles because he's never been on this stage with this kind of pressure. And all of a sudden, after a good game, he's like, ooh, now I'm expected to have it. The other night, he was not expected. He was the third-string center. He was only thrust into the action because KD went down, and then all of a sudden, obviously, he couldn't stay. You know, he played for a while, then he couldn't go, and all of a sudden, it's down to Bogut or bust, and it's kind of bust, so let's go with DeMarcus. And all of a sudden, DeMarcus makes 6 out of 8 shots with nobody really expecting him to. So tonight, he can be dominant in this game against Gasol. He can dominate him athletically, just on pure talent, size, strength. He's got all that. But he has to play with dominant poise on this stage, and I'm not sure that he can, which means we're back to this. Clay has to be dominant tonight for all 4 quarters. He has been their rock as a scorer and a shooter. And the reason, as I told you the other day, that they won Game 5 was he just kept scoring 6 points, 8 points, 6 points, 6 points. Every quarter, he made the key shots. So, again, can they make 20 of 42 threes as they did at Toronto? No, they won't. Could they make 17? They may need 17 to win tonight, and they're going to have to hope that Toronto stays in that 8 for 32 range, which was 25-ish%, okay? So it's going to come down to that. Go ahead.
Let me follow up on the Boogie Cousins. Skip, I'm not so sure Boogie would have even gotten in the game had Kevon Looney not gotten hurt.
Not.
Because they go Looney Bogut. That tells me they really had no inclination to play Boogie, given what they had seen from him in games 3 and 4. But because Kevon Looney got hurt and they had no other option, you can't play Bogut 20, 25 minutes. Mm-hmm. So Boogie had to get inserted into the ball game. Another thing, to the three-point shot that you were mentioning, Skip, you can't let Golden State, they shoot too good. You can't let them get that volume of amount of threes up. You can't let them get 42 cracks at it. Because even if they shoot 36%, that's going to be 15 threes. That still might be too many. You need to hold, you got to chase them. Because remember, in game 3, Skip, you said Steph, the threes, they were chasing, he was hitting a bunch of twos because they were chasing him off the three.
Yep.
That's what they're going to have to do. They got to chase Clay. They've got to chase. But here's the thing. You can't run past him because what he will do, he will sidestep you and step back beyond the three-point line. So you have to run at him under control, and you can't do what Van Fleet did. Van Fleet foul step on 1-3 for a 4-point play, and then he fouled him another time, and he got 3 free throws. You have to understand how to close these guys out when they're at the three-point line.
Okay. Speaking of Steph, I still say he owes his team for that collapse back in 2016 to your LeBron, Kyrie, Cleveland Cavaliers. Steph came up smaller than he is in those last 3 games, 5, 6, and especially 7 at Oracle. He still owes them. He hit the biggest three-point shot of his career in Game 5 at Toronto the other night, and it was the one to tie. And he caught it off the cut and just went straight up and shot it with conviction, and he made it after he'd gone 1 for 8 in the second half from 3. Well, they need a couple of flurries from him tonight. You know what I'm talking about at Oracle, when he makes 4 in a 2-minute span, 4 threes, because Oracle is going to be on hair trigger tonight to just blow the top off the roof. It is the last night. I do agree. We had Rick Bucher on, and he goes to every game at Oracle, and he said, last couple of years, fans have been so spoiled, they just sit on their hands and they wait for the team to bring them up out of their seats. Tonight, the crowd needs to try to fuel this team in ways it hasn't been for the last couple of years.
Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.